managed to get home in time. Fantastic news.
Did you see what Americo sent you in the WhatsApp group? Like what's your part of the presentation of today?
Just now. Okay.
Well, actually we changed it so that you're basically going to be doing everything.
Okay. Why not?
Yeah, it's your prize for being last.
Just wing it.
It's okay. I'm used to it. I'm the youngest in the family. There was no one else for me to turn around to and say, okay, you do it.
Yeah, well, I mean, we pitched it to Laxman. Laxman said, no, give it to Rebecca. She knows what she's doing.
Rebecca, I've been on your LinkedIn profile earlier on in case I had to just kind of, introduce the team. And in absentia, I just needed a little bit of background information on you. So thank God you've arrived. That's one.
Hilarious.
One last thing. You missed that.
I'm here. Fantastic.
All right. So now we can get rolling. We are live on YouTube and we got Zoom going. So this is officially the third Global Virtual Design Sprint Showcase. And I believe the title of this one is What Did Your Phone Cost the Planet? And there's also Connect the Dots. Is that true? Is there two of them, or is it just there's the What Did Your Phone Cost the Planet?
There are two of them, but they're connected.
Okay. Got it. I went with the first one because Connect the Dots was one of those things where it could be been interpreted as a different ways. So what did your phone cost the planet is pretty much like straightforward to say like, well, what have you done to the planet by purchasing an iPhone 12? What are you doing? So what the showcase is, for those of you who are watching the recording later or tuning in live, if you've never heard of it before, this is going to be a presentation by the team that you're seeing here on Zoom of their project that they worked on in October and to a certain extent extending into November. This is going to involve two different dimensions, and they're going to take you from the very start in terms of the idea and the concept all the way down into the execution and the results of the discovery of the data that they discovered when they went through their process. So it's going to be a bit of storytelling, and everyone on the call is going to have their bit. I'll have everyone introduce themselves individually rather than just calling out by name, so that for the record, everyone will know who is on the call rather than just saying, oh, that's a lovely face. So I think I'm going to start with on my right, which is probably different for everybody, Americo, and have him start introductions on who he is, what he's all about, and anything else he'd like to tell the public. And then he can move it on and call out somebody else on the call. So Americo, why don't you go ahead and lead?
Thank you, Robert. So my name is Americo. I'm in Lisbon, Portugal. I work as an independent consultant for about 4 years now, providing service in the intersection of research, marketing, and innovation. And I work for companies, business, and other consulting or research agencies that need assistance to implement their project. And that's short. It's me. I will pass to our fantastic designer, Miss Rebecca.
Super. I'm Rebecca. I'm based in Dublin. I'm an architect and master planner, interior designer is my main company, and that's based in Dubai. I lived in Dubai for 28 years. I moved back to Dublin in 2019. And I'm basically a serial entrepreneur. So as a creative, I love solving problems. So every problem that comes into my life, well, not every problem, there's a lot of problems, but big problems that come into my life, I like to find the solution. And when I find the solution, I like to turn that into a company. So yeah, serial entrepreneur. One of my latest companies that I've set up is to help SMEs and startups with innovation. So creative thinking, innovative thinking, and the processes of design thinking to help them do what we do, how to validate ideas, how to gauge desirability, and how to move forward with an idea, because we all know that entrepreneurship is hard, and 90% of companies that fail based on premise. So it's how to help people to actually get over that and move forward on the right foot to set up a business, because entrepreneurship is hard, and the easier you can make it for people, the better the world will be. So that's me.
So who else should make an introduction, Rebecca? Who would you call upon?
Let's go with Martin, my fellow Dublin
Thanks, Rebecca. Yeah, great to be doing the showcase finally. It's been a long journey. I work also in Dublin. I'm in a business consultant similar to Americo. I advise startups and SMEs on business strategy, design thinking like Rebecca. I'm in that space of trying to get companies started on the right foot, and I really kind of joined the GVDS because it was a great opportunity to kind of work in an international team, collaborating with people from other disciplines and cultures. So just want to give a little shout out to Americo for inviting me into that, and thank you. And I'll just pass on to Minou, who can maybe take up the running on her own life story.
Yeah, so Minou, I'm at the moment based in Lisbon, Portugal as well. I'm a nomad, so I'm never based anywhere more than 3 months. I explore locations just as I explore processes. And I'm mostly focused on innovation processes and creative processes. And I just started a company in February together with another GVDS sprinter. And it's focused completely on tackling social and sustainable challenges. So we take design sprints, design thinking methods, any other creative thinking or lateral thinking exercises to help companies who want to become more sustainable figure out how they can actually do this. And yes, actually our main goal is just to make this planet a little bit better and help companies reach this goal of transitioning into a more sustainable future. And that was it on my end. And I want to give the word to Laxman.
Thanks, Minou. Hi, everyone. This is Laxman here. I'm dialing in from Pune, India. I am more in the space of Lego serious play and game-based simulations for solving problems which are to do with process improvement and innovation. And I blend these with design thinking aspect. And I'm also joining this global GVDS platform to come and network and understand more about design sprints and the dash process.
All righty. So next steps for everyone is, I think, Martin, you're going to be leading the business idea, or at least the start of this. Who would be the person that's going to share their screen to kind of drive the visuals on this?
I can do that, no problem. I'll just share my screen then.
Okay.
Yes. Oh. You should be able to see my screen right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Perfect. So let's zoom into what Martin is going to tell us today.
Okay.
So Martin, over to you. You can talk whatever you want to talk about, and I'll zoom into where you need to be.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, you know, everyone's introduced themselves here. You can see everybody in the team at the top, and we're all here today. And we came together, I guess, maybe over 4 weeks ago. I think probably at this stage, and we all kind of kicked around, kind of like topics that were of interest to us, where we thought we might be able to apply our skills. Working on a problem collectively. Minou was very, focused on the environment. Rebecca was very interested in the creativity crisis in kids. I have a particular passion in early stage education, and again, kind of reversing kind of like design thinking kind of mindset back in at an early stage. And Laxman is very involved, like in process. So we kicked around a lot, and we tried to kind of blend all of those interests, to come up with something that we thought might kind of create a kind of substantial offering that we could bring out to a target market. So business idea was around blending creativity with the environment, and we would target on kids development. And we came up with this kind of, hypothesis of, what if we could establish a creative learning experience for kids and parents but with a focus on world issues, systems thinking, and which would be slightly independent of the education system, which was kind of bound by a maybe more rigid curriculum. So goal was to, you know, how do we show kids in a creative way what their impact is on life and on others, and what that was kind of whittled down to the aim of creating something that would, you know, connect diverse kids kind of in cross-border, either geographically or culturally or whatever, in some type of problem-solving collaboration. And I'll maybe let Rebecca, you know, like, and take over and kind of talk about, you know, like how that kind of was brought then into the actual Dash journey itself.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Is it Minou? Sorry. I think I made a mistake there.
I'm okay with everything. It's fine. Well, I'll walk you through it and give Rebecca the word about like the pretotypes later. So yes, so for our audience, we actually switched audiences, sort of. First, we focused on teachers. We wanted to focus on teachers, but then we explored like how reachable they will be and how much impact they could make. And we realized that it might be difficult for them to actually change the curriculum, and also because we wanted to do something outside of the curriculum, independent of like the already existing school system, because that is quite of a slow to change system. We picked the audience of family and parents within the context of a family. Because families, of course, are, besides school, play a big role in the education and awareness of kids and the development of kids at a young age. So we came up with 2 different ideas. The first idea was a systems thinking game that shows kids internationally how they are connected to each other and let them add elements to the web of connectedness. And the associated pains with this was that kids seem to have a problem seeing the bigger picture of global problems, and it's a multi-phase manifestation across the world. And kids, parents, and teachers around the world are thinking within echo chambers of ideas and solutions, which means that they don't see this connectedness and they don't realize like what kind of impact they have on the world. And it's hard to see the bigger picture and see a systems thinking approach to this. The second idea was to use the Six Thinking Hat or any other creative tool to enable kids to have a creative discussion around real life topics like the environment and everything. As kids struggle with ambiguity, they aren't prepared to start problem solving without explicit instructions. The school system, what we have nowadays, kind of drives towards one answer is right, and you have to follow certain steps to get to this answer, which makes it that a lot of kids are used to following rigid discussions, and that makes them less good problem solvers. And kids don't understand that they hold the solutions to world issues and they don't know how to get to those solutions. And this idea was a way of enabling this conversation and giving kids actually that power and the idea and the understanding that they can actually make a difference and that the future is in their hands. And we started to play around with both of these ideas. We created signal thinking experiment storyboard flows for both of them, but for actually pretotyping and the market signaling, we focused mainly on the first idea, a systems thinking game, because this seemed more reachable and feasible to test and communicate within the short time frame we had. And now I want to give over the word to Laxman for the market signal, and then we go to Rebecca.
Okay. So for the very first market signal, what we did was we wanted to check how the market is looking at this particular idea and the problem statement. So we decided to do a Google form with a text and a small image and just float it around and see how it generates a response. And as part of the Google form, what we wanted was the participants to come in, or the recipients of the Google form to come and let us know what is the inclination and how they would want to get their skin in the game. Would they want to just sign up to follow up the initiative? Or are they willing to join in for a 30 minutes webinar to understand the concept? Or are they willing to become a pioneer and give their time of 6 months or 12 months to understand and participate and help evolve into a solution? Once we had this form created, we posted it on 2 LinkedIn groups, which was about teachers. And we posted it on 11 Facebook groups for teachers. Now, out of these 11 Facebook group, for 2 of the groups, this post went immediately online. Whereas for 2, it's still pending and 7 got refused. Now, we did this around over the starting of a weekend, and one of the reasons we found was over the weekend, the participation was comparatively less. But overall, the potential reach was in 6 groups, and over 360K members got a perspective of it. And the result that we got was 1 laugh and 1 like on this particular Google form. And this helped us fine-tune further process in understanding how we need to concentrate and narrow down on the experiment. And this helped us on to take it to the pretotype as well. So I hand it over to Rebecca to walk us through the pretotype.
Sure. Yeah, so following along from the signal experiment, I mean, what kind of struck us is that, you know, as we all know, there's a lot of noise out there and there's a lot of information and people are overloaded. And what we're trying to get across to people is quite complex, and it kind of goes against the grain and goes against like sort of the education system as it's set out, but is extremely important for our kids for the future. I mean, we all know we're on an exponential curve moving forward. So the most important thing for kids to be learning is creative and critical thinking. So how do we take that and then bring it out into the market in a format that people could A, engage with, B, enjoy, C, learn something, and then connect with it to sign up or come back with skin in the game. So we ran 2 experiments. Both were based on our first idea. So both were based on creative thinking and a game, but putting it in the voice of the challenge that we're trying to address, to get people to see what their interest is. So yeah, we had Connect the Dots, which was obviously about creative thinking and how we solve problems. And then What Do the Phone Cost Your Planet, which is creative thinking and systems thinking, more towards systems thinking, where we link creativity, problem solving with the environment. We also ran these on a weekend, which was good and bad. It's good because a lot of people are just scrolling. So if they hit it and they thought, oh my God, that looks interesting, they actually clicked into it. We had quite a good viewing rate, as in anyone who clicked on it saw the video all the way through. So it's not like they got bored in the first 3 seconds. It held their attention, which is good because it means that they were interested in learning about the problem. The actual sort of physical results to sign up for information, you can see I sent it to some personal WhatsApp groups who were parents in my own children's schools. We put it on personal LinkedIn accounts, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We had it on a YouTube page, and we ran it with a Typeform document so that they could sign up to say if they wanted more information, if they wanted to hear updates or future releases, or if they wanted to sign up for any coupons or deals. I think about percentage-wise, we had about 80% that clicked to sign up for more information, and then some people actually clicked all 3: sign up for information, sign up for future releases, and sign up for coupons and deals. I think what it showed us was that even though we're pretotyping, you're pretotyping through noise. So the more engaging you can make it for people to click on it, the more you can actually validate an idea, because you know, that's, if you're a business and you're out there in the noise as well. So I think it was a very good pretotype experiment for us to gain the interest of that and see that people prefer watching something than reading something. And there is, in my opinion, there is an interest in the topic because they watch the video all the way through. And I think it's something that we could bring forward. I mean, it's very easy to solve a pain point that people know that they have, but it's harder to solve a pain point that you're trying to point out to people that they have, that they're unaware of. So there's many steps to this, but I think the first step of these pretotypes was interesting. And personally, I think if people were going to watch the video all the way through and sign up for more information, then there's definitely a market there for people who have seen that there's a problem, realize hey, I have kids and I want to future-proof their careers, that they would be interested in moving forward. So I think now we're on to Americo to discuss
Minou, do you want to explore your own prototype, Minou? That was similar? Yeah.
You're muted, Minou.
It is pretty similar. I think I don't have exact data, of course. Yeah, we did the same as, actually, I saw what Rebecca did, and I was amazed how well it communicates a seemingly quite complex concept. I was like, oh, I have to learn that. So I jumped on it and tried to build it as well. And it was actually surprisingly easy once you know how it works. So we did very similar things. We shared it on similar platforms, and I think it had a similar reach and response actually as Connect the Dots. And also in this case, I think it was mainly the name, whether your phone cost the planet, that sticks with people, because they were people are increasingly aware that everything costs the planet something, and that it's an interesting question. So yeah, I think that is to that. And then Americo did a different version of what did the phone cost your planet, and focus more on young leadership communities. I think it's probably more interesting to tell a bit more about this now, Americo.
Right. I would say that Rebecca did a great job in terms of art. Minou did a good job that no one can see here, because she used that tagline, "What did your phone cost the planet?" She used this tagline in a manner that at the end of the video you would absolutely remember the name of this product. It was really, I don't know if intentionally or not intentionally, but it was a great result. So I did a landing page. I used it. I leveraged on the content that was built by Rebecca and by Minou. My purpose was to make the value proposition more clear, and so the problem, the solution, and the outcomes more clear, and then give a more human approach to my page with the video from Minou, and showcasing presenting the team that was part of the idea. This experiment was deployed in elementary schools, 32 Irish schools. There was an engagement statement that was aiming to reach 10 of 32 of these Irish schools, expecting that they will join a Telegram group for a webinar and to follow our initiative, and also youth leadership camps. Focus was strictly on camps with kids age 5 to 11. And I sent 40 emails with this landing page, asking if it was relevant, useful for the for the leadership camp by being very specific where our product will fit in their current offering. And well, the engagement that was expected was 5 out of these 40 ILCs to join the Telegram. And we will speak about the results. I also deployed, can you please go a bit below? Yeah, I also deployed 22 cold call invites, cold invites in LinkedIn. I spread these 22 invites around the world and posted in one Facebook group. So the results of these experiments were not that great. So Connect the Dots was at a good reach, like 362 impressions and 28 reactions. The type form, 43 persons accessed the type form, so they saw the video, and the video was viewed in full, like the full video, and 43 people checked that video, and 14 of them started the form in terms of entering their emails and selecting the preference of the engagement for the future. However, only one of them posted a valid email, and so skin in game was 1 point for this experiment. The experiment made by Minou had a similar, well, a little bit was a little bit lower in impressions, like 260, 27 reactions, and 70 people accessed, viewed the video. 36 started the form, and 7 entered their emails. 3 of them to updates and 2 for coupons. So this had a skin in the game of 5 points. Both these two experiments were online for 2 weeks. The last one, the landing page, it was online for 2 weeks. Last 2 days. These last 2 days. Elementary schools, none of them answered our call. None of them returned to the contact, to my email. 2 of the youth leadership camps, 2 of them had an interaction with us. One of them to transfer just to let us know that the email will be redirected to the head of youth. And another one was more interested and was really looking for a demo session about the game. Cold calling, no really interesting results. I just got 1 connection and there was no feedback. In total, we had 11 visits to our landing page and 1 contact in Telegram group. So also failed this experiment. No one was really interested in having the skin of the game with our offering. Rebecca also collected some feedback. Apparently, we were aiming for a very old target. Like our experiment was more for kids, like 4 to 7. I mean, so the experiment is suitable for more younger audience, more younger kids than we were planning it. And that was something that we could incorporate in a future interaction if we find it interesting. So these experiments, we believe that they represent the idea, the first great idea. They give us a clear answer about if the market is interested in buying the product. The conclusion is that either we will work we will work in the value proposition or make it more clear, or have access other channels for traction. But the idea is that the conclusion is that the what we designed is not relevant at all. That's it. Any questions from you, Robert? Would like to explore?
No, I'm saving my questions for the very end. So I've got a few, but I'm going to wait till the presentation's over.
All right.
I think let's go through the highlights of everyone, and let's just go with the circle. We are here, so Rebecca, Laxman, and then all the way down. So Rebecca, if you want to hit it off.
Yeah, no, sure. I mean, for me, the whole experience was amazing. I think the world needs more collaborative work at the moment. I think, you know, a lot of our systems are broken and a lot of people work in silos, as we were saying. But what I really enjoyed about this was working with other creative minds that are willing to take on a challenge, that find a way to work asynchronously, even though we're all in different parts of the world and, you know, in different time zones. And I think that you know, the GVDS has been an amazing experience. And I'd love to see more collaboration and creativity in the world of business, so that it becomes more like conscious capitalism, because I think a group of people can bring an idea together a lot faster than single individuals. So, I mean, I had an amazing journey in this. I learned so much. And I really do think you can make a difference working collaboratively. I mean, I've spent a lot of my life working alone as a creative, and I think we all do. And even as an entrepreneur, we all sort of kind of are in our own thought boxes, and we're in our own world of, I need to do this alone. But I do think that collaboration, when you work collaboratively with a goal towards innovation, that you can change the world, basically. So yeah, that was a highlight for me, was just the whole process. I loved it.
Cool, thanks. Absolutely. 100% agreed. So, Laxman, you want to give it a go?
Sure. For me as well, the highlight was from the process and also the team energy that we brought with during the process. What I really liked was we did not stop at any specific area, but rather we wanted to go deeper and we explored. We went to the problem statement and we further explored on getting the two great ideas out of it. And when we were in the stage of prototyping and the market signals as well, we had in-depth discussion on identifying and understanding each other's perspective. And that is what I really enjoyed, because that's where the collaboration and co-creation happened in the journey.
Absolutely. Thank you. And then the next one, I saw some movement below here. No, we're still at the right spot. Americo.
Well, for me, this is like my 9th or 10th interaction with the Daesh, with the process. I took part in a couple, like 2 or 3 Daesh initiatives in GVDS4, and I had some planned improvement in terms of engagement, of my engagement with the process. I was looking for a baseline prototype for myself. I found my own prototype. I found the landing page, and I found the contribution from Rebecca that was very clear about the direction we need to take when designing a prototype. It also I also got more autonomous in designing it. I did that landing page by myself. It was very satisfactory, and I also tested new channels. I found the ones that I want to keep working with when in future initiatives, and the ones that are not, I don't want to waste my time on them. And that was very important for me as I progress in my relationship with the Dash. I also got more clear about a more clear perspective about the value of the preparation, because we had some problems with the process itself, because the process was not clear. There was a lot of a couple issues that that compromised the journey in itself. This was, despite this was an issue. It teaches me that we need to be very well prepared to sell and to implement it. And yeah, I think that I don't know what the other teams did. I'm very enthusiastic to see what they did, but I think this team produced some really good prototypes, and Rebecca did I don't know, she did an excellent prototype, and for me that was the team producing content that we can use and rearrange and retest. That is very important for me. We had it in this team, and I'm just super happy with that.
Thank you. Let's go to Martin next.
Martin, you're muted.
Thanks, Americo. Yeah, what I really enjoyed working on this team was, you know, it was just, you know, the whole collaborative effort. It was great to work with people with such, you know, like enthusiastic kind of design thinking mindsets of never seeing a problem that couldn't be overcome. Super ability to kind of generate, you know, like so many different ideas at all different stages of it, and always moving ahead, you know, like so either, you know, like there was going to be some kind of learning that could be done, or we could move ahead with the actual, you know, practical outcome of the actual dash itself. Again, you know, what you could do in such a time frame when you just pull a, you know, talented group of people together and who are particularly motivated. I just also want to kind of, you know, maybe just say on this particular topic, I also worked on a kind of slightly related topic on our design sprint, and I did enjoy kind of the comparing and contrast of the two different approaches, and I did kind of come away with the impression that both could work complementary to one another. And I think we have had a kind of side discussion on that, you know, like separately outside of the teams, and I you know, I'm still processing that to some extent, but I am kind of, you know, like definitely would you know, factor that in if I was working on this in the future for sure. So yeah, great. Yeah, really loved the experience, guys. So just pass over to Minou to give her highlights.
Perfect. Thank you, Martin. I think a lot of it is already said. Indeed, very creative, enthusiastic team with the right mindset on, and love the approach to problem solving indeed. Americo did already point out that for us, sometimes we were struggling with the process. There were certain steps in place that we didn't understand, or we ran a bit forward at some points as well. And what I really, really loved is that we at some point in the process just took the time to collectively reflect on the process and see how to go about it and what we could do differently and how we wanted to move forward. And we really took the time to review the process and not only have the constant need to move forward. So for me, that helped very much. Just took the time, we reflected, reviewed the process, and then took a couple steps back. And that made a tremendous difference in how we moved ahead. It made more sense after we reflected. It made more sense after we took a couple more steps. So sometimes slowing down and having everyone in the team accepting that it's good to slow down once in a while. Yeah, that was really cool. And what I as well really liked is to see how we could work offline and asynchronously, because sometimes that's of course a time constraint of just having 2 hours. Was a bit too short, and then we just hopped off and we started working via Slack and WhatsApp, and we actually created some pretty cool stuff completely offline while just having some communication via WhatsApp and Slack, and still come up with some pretty cool prototypes and everything. super happy about that. And I'm, of course, I mean, Americo mentioned a couple times as well, Rebecca's prototype was pretty awesome, and I'm super happy that I was able to recreate it and learn from what she did. And like, she guided me and like, oh, use this tool and use this tool. And now I can build those prototypes as well. And I know that it will only cost me a couple of hours to build something like that. And then I can communicate a concept pretty clear. So yeah, that was pretty awesome as well. So I think that was it for me. The rest is already said. Everyone learned a ton for sure. I think that brings us to the end of this process, and back to Robert for some questions.
So the first question I have, they're going to be more about the process, because obviously this is something I've been pretty close to for just under a year, and this has been going through tons of iterations. So the first one is more high level. I know that in the actual Dash week, I only allocated 2 hours per day for the team to kind of work through certain exercises. From what I'm hearing from you, Minou, when you talked about your time together, would it have been easier if those allocations were 3 hours instead of 2, or should have there been more each day? What would have been optimal given what you've experienced?
I would say not per se longer sets of hours, but more multiple sets, because sometimes you just need some time to, for example, when we did our first signal experiment, you do need some time to collect data and to build the experiment. So I think it would have been better to have multiple ones, but 2 hours is enough, just more of those.
Okay, gotcha. For some reason, I'm trying to hit the space bar to unmute my microphone, and I kept on hearing doot, doot, doot. So apparently I didn't have the window active. The second question I had was, would have been helped if both the signal experiment and then the actual experiments were more explicit in terms of their nature and how to set those up. They were purposely open-ended because I had a fear of trying to pigeonhole people into doing one particular avenue of going about an experiment. But would it have helped this team in terms of understanding what it took to basically set something up like that? If those experiments were more for the signal, do a form, or for the experiments, do like this type of pretotype, would that have helped things a bit?
I don't think so. I actually think that it was better that it's open, because then you can make your own call. I mean, every experiment will be different. Every audience will be different, and how you gain their attention is by knowing more about the topic and the subject and where they hang out and what their pains are. So, I mean, it's like how we all learn in a different way. Some people are visual, some learn by reading, some people have EQ. So I think the openness actually led us down the road of me, for example, deciding, okay, well, let's do a video. Let's try and bring something. I mean, at the end of the day, what we tried to tackle in this experiment are two massively broken systems in our world that most people wouldn't even try to tackle one. And we decided, okay, let's try and tackle both because, you can. So we're dealing with environmental issues and we're dealing with educational issues, which are two of the largest systems that we all live by. How do you distill that down into something that's simple enough for somebody to watch in 1 minute and actually understand that there's a problem, and then decide whether they want to take action on that problem or not, or whether it affects them or their lives? I mean, I think the openness that you left of how do you get that across is where the creativity comes in. So I'm actually quite happy that was open enough for us to decide, okay, well, let's run a video on this and see if we can get people's interest that way. But I think, as Minou was saying, and I think as Americo mentioned, it's a thing of timing. As I said earlier, there's a lot of noise out there. So, even though it was up there for 2 weeks, you basically have a window of an hour of people seeing it on their timeline, and then they don't see it anymore. So, I mean, I think if there were more instruction, it should be how many times you should post it, or, you know, there are lots of ways to post anything, but in every one of those ways, except for maybe an email or a personal DM or a WhatsApp group, you're only hitting an audience on a time feed at a time zone at a particular time. If they miss it and they haven't gone onto Facebook or they haven't gone onto LinkedIn, then they miss it really, because they're just scrolling. So, I mean, if there was to be more instruction, it would be more instruction of how long do you run the experiment. Like, in my opinion, it's kind of, you know, even us as we're discussing it now, by the results that we got, it was a failure. But at the same time, if you've held somebody's interest for that length of time and they've watched it all the way through, I still believe that there's hope. Do you know what I mean? So to be, how long do you run an experiment and how many times do you change it before you decided that it's not going to go anywhere?
Got it.
I think as well, more instructions, not per se. What I do think would have made a difference is, like, I what Rebecca mentioned, like the openness, only would have been more clear for me if I would have had a better understanding, or like the option to look further ahead in the process. Because for me, it was confusing when we started the signal experiment that it was a signal experiment. Maybe we kept mixing up signal and pretotyping. So I would love that it was clearer for me that, like, this is a smaller experiment where you can do multiple smaller ones, and then you dive into like the pretotype ones, which are a bit more in depth. So not per se instructions about how to run them, but more of a, just more of a clear understanding of the whole process from the beginning on, because then you could actually at day 2, at the very beginning already drop out a couple of small signal experiments, just very tiny ones, and then look deeper into the pretotype experiments later whilst you have those running. But the openness was definitely great.
I sorry, I just want to add to that. I think that's absolutely right. I think one of the things that I picked up from this is that there are so many variables that you're trying to kind of experiment with, and when you know, no matter what experiment you create, you know, like, it's a mix of multiple kind of variables about, you know, what your value proposition is, how you're pitching it, your timing, all of these things, the channels that you're picking. So I definitely think there's merit in, like Minou said, is that kind of having a good understanding of kind of where, you know, what you're trying to achieve, you know, whether it's signal or pretotyping, and maybe having to kind of, maybe some kind of a guide, maybe not so rigid, but, you know, like that, if you're at this stage, here's a couple of tips and tricks that you should do at this point to kind of, you know, to make, because even though, you know, they're all kind of low cost, they do take a lot of time to set them up and kind of launch them, you know, and I think that can help in that regard. I think will be very beneficial in the future.
Mohammed Shamandur from Team Aloha posted on YouTube, and he wants to ask the team a question saying, based on current results, if you're going to make another experiment to explore and try to have more skin in the game, what would be that? Like, what would be that experiment? Or would you stop all experimentation based on the results that you've gotten so far?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. I don't know if we've gotten to that point yet of discussing that. As I was just saying, there is sort of the concrete results, and then there's your intuition on whether you think it can work or not, and do you take it any further. For me, if this was a business that I was opening, I would obviously 100% take it further, because, you know, as a creative, I like to go with my intuition and my gut. But obviously, as a team, do we decide to take it further? What would that be is something that we'd have to, you know, go through as a process of what do we think the most logical next step is, and who do we, after now learning those lessons, who do we hit? Who do we go to? Do we, you know, make it more personable, as in sort of emails rather than social? Or if we go social, do we run it as an ad, as a paid ad, so it gets more views and it's up there for longer? But that's a process I personally would like to take forward. but it is a time-based thing as well, as Martin said. Everything takes time. But yeah, that's my opinion.
I will say, so in regards to your previous question, I will say that I'm not prescriptive. I don't like prescriptions. I think people should use or use an experiment that best fits in the context. However, during our experiment design, I moved those 4 prototypes that you have on part 5 or part 4, I think. There is the YouTube, the facade, and 4 prototypes. I moved them to the part 3, and I just minimized them very to a very small part of the board. And I found curious that Martin, who is the first time seeing this process, Martin found it interesting and explored that particular section. So I will say that despite we should not be this prescriptive, I think people need some sort of guidance or example of inspiration, something like that. And maybe especially for newcomers, I think maybe it's better to have some sort of examples so people can understand what we are talking about. And that is about, but I don't like prescription. I like to have open, to be able to explore whatever I want. About the second point, I found the youth leadership camps. We had like 2 interactions. I will start there. I will not kill the idea now. I will start there and try to understand better why they found it interesting and move forward from there. I also will go into a more personal approach and avoid social, because Rebecca told one thing that is important, is that okay, we posted this once and now we need to post it again, and that is exactly the deal that we missed. We just posted the first one, the first phase, and we didn't post it again. And there are people who post the experiment like 3-4 times a day. I have been realizing that, and that maybe is an option, but that will bring saturation if you don't use like Google Ads, if you don't invest in your own experiment. So I will invest a bit more in youth leadership camps and go into a more personal approach. And youth leadership camps will not, eventually they will not pay for it, but we could bring other partners to the ecosystem, those who will pay for like social responsibility programs or helping the kids, or companies that are related with social responsibility in a more late sense of the concept.
And the way you've kind of approached the reporting here, Americo, has made me think that there's a whole dimension of this process that needs to kind of cover how you've kind of displayed the results. I think that spelled it out very well in terms of the experiments you tried as well as the numbers. And I think the approach I took was a bit more vague on the, I think it was like part 4 or part 5. So I'm probably going to be adopting a lot of what you're doing here with kind of showing how the results are kind of shown, rather than kind of doing it through the process that I had. But that's a discussion for another time, because we are at the top of the hour. So thank you very much, team, for kind of presenting all of this and kind of the approaches, what you learned and everything else. The one thing I do want to do before we kind of end things is, Minou, if you could basically close the share, we can get one last group photo. And then the thing I'll remind everyone on the team is that if you haven't done so already, if you had a really good time and a really meaningful experience with all of you in terms of kind of going through this process, to recommend each other on LinkedIn, because that goes really far with other people who don't know this context. And do give me any feedback on the dash that you haven't already that you think would improve it in the future. But let's do one last kind of group shot, and then we can call it a session. But I leave it to the team for the idea that you'd like to do in terms of like either a pose or a prop or anything that you'd like to do. What would be something that you'd like to kind of put up? Somebody coming into the room.
I'm literally in a room. The only prop I have is a lamp.
Yeah.
That's it.
This is where it all started.
That's a
Americo,
good one.
you going snap camera? Okay.
No, it doesn't.
I could do this.
The Bible of the dash and the pretotype.
There you go.
Do the timing.
We go on books again.
Okay, I have
Right.
I have a minion.
You have a minion? That works.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to swap out my sunglasses.
Oh, I'm sorry. So no
Oh,
books.
there you go.
I go with my gargoyle.
You know what? I'm gonna go one better and just basically go, okay, I'm gonna do the glasses. That seems to be the one I think you've been doing. All right. Are you ready, everybody? We're gonna do this on the count of 3. 1, 2, and 3. All right. Thank you very much, Team Endless Nachos. I hope you had a really good time working with one another. Remember, there's going to be a community of practice we're starting up. The call for topics is on the 15th. We'll be meeting at the beginning of every month, and it's for teams. It's a continuation of what they've done, or at least to continue the conversation, or to start new pretotypes, or to do other things. So there'll be a list of things you can choose from, depending on the bandwidth that you have. But I thank you very much for being part of the Global Virtual Design Sprint. I hope this is a meaningful and a good use of your time. And, hopefully I'll see you next time. Right?
Thanks, Robert.
Robert.
Super.
All right, see you all on
Thank
Slack.
you.
Take care, everybody.
See you.
Bye-bye.